If you're watching this, you're one of us. You're a creative with a mind for business, and you're moved by the idea of an invention that keeps you up at night. Perhaps you may have already tried to bring that invention to life, and you may have even succeeded. You believe that for that idea, anything and everything is possible. You see, that's who we are. Every week, we have hours of conversation about creativity, art, life, and management that unlocks the future of Sishii's career and our business. We've decided to share some of that conversation with you in the hopes that it may help you bring your invention to the world. We're sharing these conversations with ourselves in the hopes that what we learn on our journey can be of service to others. Each week, we cover just one subject. And this week, the subject is designing a year that changes your life. What do you think of that as a subject, bro?
Yeah, I think that's dope.
In 1 year, what would make Sishii's work feel unmissable in terms of the music, for the people listening, and the career moves?
What would make my music unmissable?
Your work as a broad term. Like, what would make all of your work feel unmissable for you?
Consistency. Yeah, consistency. Yeah.
What does consistency mean? Like, what are we actually doing here, and why is it relevant?
I mean, releasing a song every single week, there's no, small feat. I also don't think it's something anyone else is intentionally doing, really. So with the intention of kind of tracking every week from week 1, from day 0 to day 365. So I think, yeah, like it's that intentionality behind the consistency. So it's just showing up as often as possible, but then also showing up while intentionally seeing what works, what doesn't work, what resonates, what doesn't resonate, what are we able to do successfully, what are we not able to do. It's kind of mindful consistency. That's what consistency means for me.
What's a moment, like if you fast forward 12 months and we've done the whole 52 records, every record comes with the Chamomile session and all the social media content that we've planned. What's the moment 12 months from now where you can look back and go like, that was successful? What is it that you're using as that metric of success for yourself?
My metric of success is how often I show up, how often I finish what I put my mind to. It's not really an external one, if I'm being honest. The moment would be, at the end of it, looking back, going, damn, I did this every single week. Like, I literally did this every single week. Like, that for me is success. So every week is success when we show up. It's not a success when I don't. I think that's the only failure, really. Metric of success, metric of failure, Yeah.
Why are we doing this though? Like, take me through the vision a little bit. Like, what's the point?
I mean, the point is to do something because I can. It's like a stunt. I get to wake up in the morning and make music. It's a blessing, it's a privilege. A lot of people don't wake up and do what they love. I get to wake up in the morning and do what I love. I am passionate about business. I'm passionate about the arts. I'm passionate about being a performer. As a musician and an actor, and I get to do those things. So I'm like, if I'm gonna do them, I might as well just do them at the highest level. And what's the highest level? The highest level isn't looking to my left and to my right and trying to be better than the next person, but it's looking at myself and going, what can I feel like I've done that makes me go, wow, damn, I'm a good writer. I can say I'm a good writer. I can say I'm a good artist. I can say I'm not on anyone else's metric, but my own. If I showed up every week, and it's hard, but I still did it. So for me, it's like I'm stunting on myself, stunting on whoever decides to watch. Whoever decides to watch the stunt. It's not the most business sense thing to do. But it makes sense. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to us.
So it's almost like you've picked something that is like scary for you. And the idea is that you're almost like shocking yourself into being a better artist or shocking yourself into being a more consistent artist. Tell me a little bit how much the public declaration of your mission plays a role in your consistency showing up every single week, and how you think it will play a role as we go forward. Obviously, we're in week 1 now. So this is the first of 52 weeks between the 29th of August 2025 and the 28th of August 2026, which is actually 53 weeks. We did actually discuss this earlier today. But yeah, tell me a little bit about how that public accountability plays a role.
I mean, I think We're both very like internally accountable like people. That's why we work so well together. We don't need external accountability to achieve something. It allows for something outside of ourselves to, I don't know, like watch. Like I said, it's a stunt. Like no one does a stunt at home alone. You know, no cameras on, nothing. What's the point of doing a stunt if you're just doing it on your couch? Doing a stunt like it's for display. It sounds rather attention seeky. It is. I'm just gonna own that. Most people, I don't know, would deny that. Yet they're posting on social media every single week. But it's not about that. No, obviously it is. So yeah, like for me, the public declaration is just like knowing that outside of myself, like I'm gonna be hard on myself regardless. I'm gonna do this regardless. Having people outside kind of, it makes it more exhilarating. Because
Yeah.
if I fumble, like damn, it's in front of all these people. And if I do it, it's like, yeah, that's right. I did in front of all these people. I
It
mean,
makes-
like why is it a thing for you?
Well, it makes me think a little bit. I was just thinking while you were talking now, it makes me think about a conversation I had with actually our mutual friend, Tiabelo Sinatla. And obviously, he's a rugby player. And we hung out quite a bit during COVID. And during COVID, obviously, there were no audiences, no crowds going to rugby matches. And so they were playing these rugby matches in the United Rugby Championship against each other in these empty stadiums. And it's like the quality of the game you play when you know there's nobody watching is so much worse than the quality of the game you play as a performer when you know that people are engaged and like supporting you and they're like behind you or against you. In fact, the against is sometimes more motivating than the people that get behind you. You know, it's like you could have 1,000 fans behind you, but there's one person who's like a hater, and you could be like Michael Jordan, and then you're just like, I'm going to take that personally, and like, I'm going to show you, like, for the next 52 weeks, you're the one person I'm making all these songs for, you know? The next thing I just wanted to kind of outline there is what three qualities must the music and the visuals have, do you think, for people to share them without being asked?
It's gotta look good and sound good.
Look good, sound good. Okay, that's two.
Yeah, it's gotta look good, it's gotta sound good, and for people to want to share it, I must want to share it.
It's like an energy.
If I don't want to share it, if I don't want to share it, I won't share it. And if I don't share it, they can't share it.
Yeah.
So I have to share it, and it has to look good and sound good. But I guess those are also kind of like one and the same reason, because if it looks good and sounds good, then I want to share it. But yeah, those reasons are personal to me. Those are things I can control. And that for me is like the single most important thing in anything we do. I can't say, it's got to be posted at the right time and the algorithm and I don't know that stuff, bro. We can try and guess as much as we want. We never know. It's just what's in my control.
I love that answer because, like, for me, and I know this of both of us, neither of us wants to do work for other people that we wouldn't buy ourselves. So what you're kind of saying is like you want to make work that if you were sitting on the other side of Instagram, for example, and you saw that content, you'd be like, damn, this is dope. I've got to share this. I've got to comment. I've got to be involved in this. How have you cultivated your taste to a point where you can kind of calibrate between what's cringe and what you find cool?
I mean, there's not much other than honesty. I don't know how someone kind of cultivates a taste. I feel like you just do what you feel like and you like what you like. A lot of that is informed by, growing up and, what you listen to and what you liked watching and the things that make you go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I don't know how much control we have over that, except for kind of just diving deeper into the things that you really like, or diving into the things that you feel like are right for you. I mean, a lot of the things I consume have to do with God, have to do with just like also nice vibes too. So, yeah, I think the cringe stuff for me, unfortunately, it's a part of this whole journey. Whether or not like even 30 years ago, artists were doing cringe things. I mean, 30 years ago was like 1990s. 50 years ago, artists who were signed to labels, they wouldn't just always get on stage and feel like, oh, this is great, this is amazing, I must wear this, because sometimes the label would tell you what to wear and you put that thing on. And I'm not convinced that every artist would put on something and go, yeah, I love this, I love what I'm wearing right now. Sometimes the label tells you what to wear, you put it on, you go, hey, bruh. Because back then the label did know better. right? When the label told you to wear that thing because it's gonna work, I put that thing on, right? You get on stage and you do it. So I'm like, the cringe thing for me, a lot of people say it's like, oh, it's this day and age of TikTok and, you know, oh, I have to post these cringe things. I'm asking people to listen to my music. And it's not this day and age, bro. If you're pursuing a dream, if you're pursuing, you know, sharing your ideas on a global scale, you are gonna do things that sometimes you're like, you know, it's a little bit cringe. Regardless of time, regardless of when it was, regardless of who you are. Yeah, there's always an element of it to a certain degree. So I think just accepting that is an important part of it. But also the kind of putting the cringe within your taste helps a lot because, you know, there's levels to cringe as well. Tyler, the creator, for example, kind of looks like he's never done anything he's ever cringed at. He's always like, this is amazing. I'm convinced though that he's just found a way to match or create kind of an ecosystem for himself where even those things that one would usually find cringe, he makes certain shapes in such a way that he still kind of likes it.
And so it sounds like you're talking a little bit about almost like building personal relationships with fans and turning social media following into more of a community, kind of making it feel closer and smaller than it really is. Because what you see, you know, you gave the example of Tyler. When Tyler posts something, there's like tens of thousands of people that are there for it immediately. And so whether it's cringe or not doesn't really matter because the real ones that are his target audience are there and they're engaged and they care.
Yeah.
We can talk about how we're doing that, I think, in a separate episode. We're just kind of trying to set the scene here for the 52. The last piece in terms of setting the context. Talk to me a little bit about your observations recently about the difference between creators and artists and where you see yourself in that spectrum.
If we're going to go with the conventional kind of what I've found to be the conventional understanding of an artist and how they define themselves, being one myself, is there's a preciousness you have towards your work. Like that means you need to, like, you know, die for your craft because you're an artist. No one understands you. You're misunderstood. And you want to continue being as misunderstood as possible. I think that if we're going to define it like that, then I would rather consider myself a creator and not an artist because, you know, for me, it's a depressing existence to make stuff that you hold so highly, that defines you, that's your identity, but then simultaneously kind of not have to worry about what people think about it. Of course you're going to care. And you should care, I think. But for me, then what I'll do is I'd rather try and find ways to detach myself from it a little bit. And I've found that a lot of the time content creators do that a lot. Where they just, bro, like, let's just shoot, let's just dance, set up the camera right now. What is that? Like, what phone do you have? Doesn't matter. Let's just dance and post it. When? Do we need to plan it out? No. Right now, you know? Hanging out with content creators is so cool because like I'm always so, it's a breath of fresh air compared to hanging out with artists who are like super, like, this is the be all and end all, you know, so, you know, that little thing, did you hear that? You know, and content creators are just like, bro, like, what? Let's shoot this thing right now. While we're shooting it, actually, open the editing app quickly. Let's just edit it as we go. Yeah, post it. When? Now, just post it. No, but like, what about the time? No, just post it, dude. Post it. Okay, next, let's do something else. Like, I'm like, that's actually what I feel like that's what artists should be. And that I think that's what artists are. So if we go with that definition of an artist, which is my new one, then yeah, I can call myself an artist instead of risk mitigation and hedging all the time. But that's what businessmen do, not artists. Artists just create. Artists should be like children. And I'm finding that content creators are more childlike than artists. And artists are more adult than content creators. And I'm like, oh, if that's the case, then I don't want to be in that group, in that school. So, yeah.
I get you. I love that. You said childlike. You mean childlike in the best way, you know, just free to express, not holding themselves back. You said to me a few months ago, you were like, bro, content creators, hoy. They're just hoy.
Yeah.
And then you said that's something you'd never say on a recording. So I see you not saying it. It's fine.
Hey, man. Man, I came prepared. I can't prepare
Yeah,
this
no, I
time.
see. I see. I see you thinking carefully about what you're saying here. Horizon metrics. We spoke about this in the past, and it was
Mm,
very confusing to you and me. So I've simplified it. The basic question is, if we can't use money, which three numbers will we check every week to know that we're growing? It could be number of content pieces posted. It could be streams, number of streams, monthly listeners. It could be number of comments. What's important for
mm.
you? What's most important for you as the artist in this equation? I'll answer from the business point of view, from the commercial point of view after.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say that we definitely have different answers for this because for me, it's like it's how many piece of how many pieces of content I've posted, how many songs have I written. At the end of the week, how many songs have I written this week? How many songs have I completed this week? So if you're asking for three weekly ones, I wouldn't put the music in the weekly ones. I'd put the music in the monthly ones. But how many songs have I completed per month for me is really important. How many pieces of content have I posted per week is important to me. And I think also how many songs am I writing that I like per week? Because the process isn't as simple as just completing a song in a week because there's other people I get, involved. So yeah, weekly would be more work in progress of music. Monthly would be completion of songs. And then another weekly metric would be how many have been posted. I mean, that's the single most important thing though, distributing, posting, putting it out, just putting it out, putting it out, putting it out. I don't want to get bogged down in the process too much anymore. I used to have 15 different songs I'm currently writing. None of them are finished. And then none of them get finished. It's like, what's the point? And then I used to say, okay, how many have I completed? I'm like, okay, no, it's not just about complete because I've finished songs and then they also just sit on the, it's like, no, it's not even about that now. It's about how many did you put out? How many content pieces did you put out? Not how many are you still editing? So yeah, how would you answer that question?
From a commercial point of view, it's a good question. I think off the top of my head, the first one would be number of content pieces shipped on social. So it's the same as yours. There will be some overlap. And then I'm looking at page views on our Linktree page. That's really important for us because
What's that? What's Linktree?
we're putting out, I'll explain. So we're putting out content on TikTok and we're putting out content on Instagram. Now, we have to think about your social media basically like a big marketing funnel. I'll explain what that is. Audiences discover your new music or your new offering or your new merchandise that you're wearing right now, which looks very dope, on TikTok, on Instagram. That's where our biggest audiences are. So that's where they're discovering what's new. From there, we'll post up cool content. They'll see it. They'll want to engage with it, learn more, or order merchandise, or go and watch the full-length video on YouTube or stream the song on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever. We then have a link that we make available to them through our bios. They click on that link. The page that opens up when they click on that link is our link tree. On that page, they have a series of 4 buttons that they can choose from. They can either choose to stream the song on Apple Music, on Spotify, watch the full-length Chamomile session on YouTube, or buy merchandise. Now, why the page views on that link tree is so important is because if we distribute 10 content pieces on Instagram, for example, in a week around a particular song, and those 10 content pieces altogether, some of them could be Instagram reels, some of them could be still photo posts, some of them could be carousel posts. Say cumulatively those 10 content pieces produce 1 million views, right? So 1 million people have watched that content, and I'm seeing that we have 100,000 page views on that link tree, which means 100,000 people watched the content. Of the 1 million that watched, 100,000 of them took an action from that content. They then moved to your Instagram profile and they went to click that link so that they could get access to the thing that we're sharing with them. They could go and stream the song, or they could go and buy the merch or watch the video on YouTube. Why it's important is because it tells us whether or not audiences are finding what we're giving them on social media at the top of our funnel, TikTok and Instagram. It tells us whether they're finding that valuable, whether that's interesting to them. And for us as a business, the most important thing we need to remember is that we are here to serve. We're here to serve the audience. That means that we need to figure out what is valuable to them, what's the overlap between what's valuable to them and what's exciting for us to create. and we need to do that thing so that we continue to remain authentic whilst still giving people something that excites them, inspires them, moves them, whatever the case may be, something that's of value to them. So I'll go back to describing what the marketing funnel is, right? So TikTok and Instagram, that's the top of the funnel. Now, a funnel, it's like an upside down pyramid. It's like the letter V. You start super big at the top, and then you get narrower and narrower and narrower as you get down to the bottom. And so every marketing funnel is basically made up of three components. You've got your top of funnel. That's where you have the largest audience and where you have access to the largest audience. So in our case, that's Instagram and TikTok. Obviously, at this point in time, you have 700,000 followers thereabouts on Instagram, 590/600,000 or thereabouts on TikTok. Then the layer down, we call that the middle of funnel. Now, your middle of funnel in e-commerce is that space where a customer is making a buying decision. In our business, that space where customers making the buying decision is our Linktree page. So that's where they're deciding. One of the amazing things that Sishii is offering, do I want? Do I want to stream the song on Spotify? Do I want to stream the song on Apple Music? Do I want to buy the merchandise? Do I want to watch the full-length Chamomile on YouTube? Sharp. Then they make a decision. They then enter the bottom of funnel. Now, the bottom of funnel is where conversion happens. That's where we ultimately make money as a business. So if they click any one of those 4 buttons on that link tree, they move to the bottom of funnel and we're able to monetize. So they either make a decision to buy merchandise and they'll be sent to our merchandise website where our fulfillment partner will sort out the fulfillment with them if they follow through and enter their card details and buy the merch. Or they'll move to Apple Music where they'll stream the song and we get paid whatever it is, 0.05 cents or something, you know. Yeah. Or Spotify, same case. YouTube, same case, where we earn money from AdSense. Now, I would say that the page view is probably the most important because that's giving us a sense of whether or not what we're putting out is valuable to audiences, like people are engaged or not. Then the next step down is the bottom of funnel is like what's actually happening at the point of conversion. You know, how many streams are we getting in the first week on a song cumulatively between Spotify and Apple Music? If we're getting 1 million views on social media, 100,000 clicks onto our Linktree, but only 10 streams, there's a problem. Clearly, something's broken, and we need to then make a decision about how we're going to address that problem. So our conversion metrics then become, I think, the third most important. So it's content shipped, then it's page views on Linktree, and then it's conversion. Number of sales in terms of units sold of merch, number of streams on records, number of views on YouTube. Week on week, obviously, not all of those views, streams, and sales come from the page itself, the Linktree. Sometimes people are coming, they're Googling you, and then they're going to the website and they're finding it that way, or they're going to go directly onto Apple Music themselves. They're not coming from social media. So that's why, in many ways, the traditional marketing funnel, that V, is being retired. And we're thinking of it more and more as marketers like an ecosystem. It's more of a flywheel. It's called a content flywheel now, where the idea is basically you serve audiences with a lot of value, or as you would say, you give them something to eat, and then they decide.
Would say that, actually.
You've never said that. They've said that in the comments.
That's their thing. Yeah.
So you let them eat, and then they'll decide. They'll make the decision themselves. But yeah, those are the 3 most important things for me from the business point of view in our business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I think that the stuff for me, the most important things are things that I can control as, you know, the creator. Like, so long as I focus on that, then we're good. But if I start to focus on your metrics, my mind goes crazy. And then I'm like anxious and I'm like, are we doing enough? What more should we be doing? Why didn't this work? I thought this piece of content was going to do so well. And then I start to go crazy. So yeah, I think it's really dope that we've split that in that way.
Which brings me to, if you run into trouble and you start to see in terms of your 3 metrics that things are slipping, or that you're in a position where you might require some course correction or some adjustment, what are some of the things that you have top of mind that you can do immediately to rescue the situation?
I mean, the first thing is doing things in advance. Like, That really helps. We're starting now, but we've got some songs for the next couple of weeks. And what that means is that I must continue making more so that we don't reach a place where we're like, that's what happened last year where I'm writing a song that needs to drop next week. Now there's pressure. For me, so long as we keep this distance, it's going to be important. That's one of the things I have in place. One of the things we have in place for sure. So that if a week does come where I'm like kind of slow and not feeling productive, or there's something commitments I have, yeah, we're covered. Yeah. What else? I mean, obviously us like being accountable to each other, that's really important. We've set goals and yeah, constantly checking in all the time. Knowing I have someone to answer to outside of myself is really important because I can get in my head a lot. Just sometimes, like as soon as I just get the business perspective on things, a lot of the time it just like takes my head out of the anxiety of posting on social media. So yeah, I'd say having things in advance, and then beyond having things done in advance, it's having each other and that accountability. It's really important. Yeah, I make you answer questions. I make you answer tough questions. I ask tough questions of how you're getting ahead of things and what you're doing to make sure we don't, yeah, a lot of the time you're really working hard, and then you ask me questions, and I'm also working my ass off till 4, 5, 6 a.m. So, because I know, we've got each other to answer to, so that helps.
Yeah, I mean, you basically stole the answers that everything you said, I would have said. I think the only thing I would add is on my end, commercially, obviously, I'm dealing more with data than you are. So data is obviously just the numerical representation of the behavior of audiences and the success or failure of certain content pieces or records or whatever. My job is to analyze those things and then to build a bridge between what we can do creatively to make improvements and what's not working currently. So the thing that I would say is most important that allows me to get ahead of any potential failings is to analyze that data on a weekly basis. And that's why we are so religious about tracking all of our data so that we know we can make adjustments real time.
Yeah.
Okay, trade-offs. Very simple question. Of all of the many things that you're doing in this campaign, 53 songs technically, we're going with 52 because it sounds like a cooler number, but yeah, 53 songs, 53 weeks. What are you willing to be just okay at for this next year so that the main goal here continues to get your best energy?
That's a tough one. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what I'm willing to be just okay at.
Well, it's like, what are you prepared to say this is good enough about, as opposed to...
I feel like I say that with everything. I feel like I say that about everything. I always feel like chamomile sessions could look better. I always feel like chamomile live could be better. I always feel like I could be a better performer. I could be a better guitarist. I could be a better writer. I could definitely be a better producer. I could definitely be a better mixer. I could be better on socials. I could be better with responding. I could be a better content creator in terms of like what I do on socials. All these, facets of what we do, I always feel like I'm just okay at. So I'm like, maybe that is the trade-off. What I'm not compromising on is showing up. So I could obviously spend day in, day out doing vocal exercises, seeing a vocal coach, taking guitar lessons, being a virtuoso. I could, shoot skits all day. There's all these things, like there's a lot more I could do individually on those things. But I'm like, as long as I show up. So that's why I'm like, perhaps the trade-off is actually everything, because I do feel like I could be better at everything. But showing up, that is like the one thing I cannot compromise on. No matter how bad I feel, no matter how I have to do that as much as possible. Yeah.
Consistency over everything.
Yeah, consistency over everything. Yeah, and for you, what is that?
What am I willing to be just okay at? I mean, I think the main thing for me this year, there's two things. There's all the systems and ops behind everything that you do public facing. So it's like facilitating the chamomiles, getting records, pitched properly, doing all the data collection, managing social content, organizing players, itineraries, all that stuff, branding, all that stuff. That's the one thing. And then the second thing is sales, right? Like without sales, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know this, but our business functions on brand campaigns. And generally, I've got to sell the Sishii brand to consumer brands in order to facilitate this process. So the two things that I will not compromise on are the ops and the sales. What I am prepared to compromise on is, like if it's a great question, dude. I'm a very uncompromising person. I'm realizing while you're talking to me now. And I think that's actually probably to my detriment. Like I probably take on too much and overextend myself. So this is actually a really good exercise, I'd say. What I'm prepared to compromise on would be probably like the peripheral content, like the content that's not part of our core offering. So I'm not going to be mad if we don't have like extra stuff on top of what we've already planned, because we always do try to go to the extra mile. I'm not going to be mad. Oh, PR. Dude, if we compromise on PR, I honestly don't give a shit. Like if news publications aren't talking about this, if the radio isn't playing the songs, if Apple Music don't playlist, if Spotify don't playlist, it doesn't bother me at all. I am going to pitch. We are going to go and we're going to push hard as we can. But if we miss a week, if we miss a playlisting cycle, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'd say PR is probably one of the biggest things that I've realized is like, it's not something that really moves the needle on our business. It doesn't really make much of a difference. And it is definitely something that I'm prepared to be just okay at, to make sure that we do everything else we've set our minds to. How do we protect a weekly ship day so a new thing goes out every week no matter what? Like essentially, I guess the question is asking like, what's the routine? How are we making sure that we aren't setting ourselves up for failure, practically speaking, week to week? What's the cadence of our week look like?
It doesn't have the same cadence every week, and that, when I come to writing is something I do consistently, but I haven't written this week though. Well, I'm lying. Oh, I was writing yesterday. But like, I might not write next week because I'm traveling. So the cadence isn't necessarily the same every week. I would say that it feels like the same. For me, the answer is still the same as the question you asked previously, which was about, how do we ensure if we start to slip up, whatever. And for me, it's still the same thing about accountability. We're accountable to each other and then we're ahead. Because I'm not the kind of person who can genuinely every single week for 52 weeks work the same way. I can't do that. I can write songs for the next 3 weeks intensely and then, come to Cape Town and produce, mix, for like a month-long period intensely, and then take 2 weeks to just like shoot content intensely. So, for me, the cadence isn't like, okay, every week on Mondays it's this, Tuesdays it's this, like that's not how I work. So yeah, I don't know if your cadence is different. I mean, yeah, I feel like it is.
It's a little different. It's a little bit more consistent. I'd say obviously not doing so much of the creative work means that outcomes are a bit more manageable. Like there's an end point to things. But I would say, to add to what you're saying, the cadence of every week in terms of what we've planned from a ship point of view, like what we've planned to serve audiences with, remains the same. In accordance with our content calendar, in accordance with our drop date. So the song comes out every Friday. The chamomile comes out every Friday. This conversation comes out every Sunday. It's Friday again, comes out every Friday, etc. So we're working really hard to create very consistent expectations with audiences and to start to build trust with people over time, a long period of time. I mean, in a way, that's what Gomorrah made available, was people came to know you because they saw you every day. Almost it was 6 days a week or 5 days a week? 5 days a week. Every night, 5 days a week. So in some sense, like, we're trying to replicate that kind of consistency. So it doesn't really matter, and I guess this is a separate point, but it doesn't really matter to me if a piece of content does 20,000 views instead of 2 million, because there's another one tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. So in terms of my personal like calendar, all I'm trying to make sure is that we protect our commitment to deliver to our audience certain media at the times at which we've promised we would deliver those things. That's it. So if you're traveling, then my job is to get ahead of it, to say, okay, well, bro, I see you traveling next week. We need to double up our shoot this week. We need a schedule here, blah, blah, blah. Just making sure that I'm kind of guarding against making sure we don't slip up in that context. But day to day, I mean, I'm working, I have my full-time job, and then I'm doing this, and I'm in this room pretty much every single day. So yeah, I'm multitasking the whole day. And you are too, because honestly speaking, this is what we do is like 2 or 3 people's jobs in terms of the mindset you need to have, because you need to wear so many different hats.
Yeah.
What are the 5 most likely ways this plan could fail, and what will we do ahead of time to prevent each one?
Failure for me is only just stuff that's in my control. Failure has nothing to do with audiences and customers and that other stuff. Like for me, what failure is if I don't manage to release what I say I'm going to release for the next couple of weeks. The only way that could happen is if I book the, greatest movie ever, and then I have to go prep for that and then go shoot that. And the only way we get ahead of that is by being ahead, by writing the songs, distributing them beforehand, and not needing to do things week on week on week, because we've got, 10 weeks ahead of us that are covered. So yeah, for me, the only way this fails is if I don't do the things I say I'm going to do. That's my answer for that.
You spoke about preparation, and it made me think about when we first started having this conversation, which, if I'm not mistaken, was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
This conversation about doing 52 records and like, what if we did it? What about this thing? How would it work? We've been, in many respects, we've been preparing for that long financially, in terms of the ops of the business, to get to a point where we can deliver with that kind of consistency. Whose opinions truly matter, and how will we sort useful feedback from noise?
Whose opinions truly matter? For me, other than God, other than God himself, it's mine and yours in what we're doing. I've gotten advice and stuff from other people, but they're not on the same path as us, so it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. No one truly understands what we're trying to do here, because most people aren't really trying to teach, what they're learning, what they're doing. Most people are trying to just achieve the next goal, chasing the next thing, I've found. So there's beaten paths, there's certain ways to do certain things. And it's like, but it doesn't make sense. The streaming cycle and the song you have to let it. And I'm like, bro, the thing is, you're not actually, we've got different goals here. That's the goalposts you have, and that's what you're trying to go for, which is dope. That's what I'm doing. Like, it's different. So no one's opinion really matters other than God and our own.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting to put it in that context, because we've had many different conversations with friends in the industry, fellow artists, colleagues, other managers, label execs, people like that. Everyone we've said that we're going to do this to, everyone whom we've told we're going to do this.
Yeah, we're doing this too, bro. What are we doing to them?
Everyone we've told we're going to do this mission has advised us that this is a terrible business decision. It's unwise on so many levels. It doesn't make any sense. The industry doesn't work this way. Why would you waste so much good music? Why have we single-mindedly ignored that advice?
Because we have a complete... One, they're not lying. 2, what they're talking about doesn't apply to us. Like, we don't want, it's like, I'm trying to think, a fish trying to teach an elephant, how to survive the wild, or an elephant trying to teach, a fish, a little goldfish. Yeah, you just trample on. The fish is like, trample with what? I don't trample on who, how? The shark's gonna eat me. And the elephant goes, no, just like, use your trunk and just scare people. I don't have a trunk. What are you on about? It's completely different things. That's the best way I can frame it, is like, I appreciate your insight because it's actually right. You have actually spent time in this industry and you do know how it works, and you're right. That is how it works. We're just not trying to work the way things have been worked before, do things the way they've been done. So, you're not lying, but that makes sense for you because of what you're trying to achieve. It doesn't make sense for us because that's not really what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, exactly. I love that answer. It's the funniest thing because we tell them and then they go, but why? But why? It's like talking to someone who doesn't understand the language you're speaking to them in. It just doesn't go in. It doesn't. But that's cool. It's going to be interesting to see if against our markers we achieve what we set out to.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the one sentence that we want fans to repeat about this year? Like in the future, we've done it. It's 10 years from now or more, and fans are still like reminiscing. Oh, you remember when Sishii did that thing? What is it that we want them to remember about this year?
Yeah, that I said I was going to do a stunt and did it. Like, but also like, you know, the attention spans are so dead right now, bro. Like, I don't know if anything will be remembered. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, for me, it's just that I put my mind to something and I did it, and I did something that made no sense. Some people will remember that in a horrible way, like, what an idiot. And some people will remember that as like, that was dope. I don't care how they remember it, but I don't actually care whether or not they do remember this, if I'm being honest. This is really for, like genuinely, it's something I'm doing for me, something that I'm doing for us as a business. Not as a business also, it doesn't make business sense. It's dumb, it's reckless, you know?
To me, I'm looking
That's
at it and I'm going like, there's an element of what we're doing that feels like performance art. It's kind of like, it doesn't really make any sense. I don't know why someone would want to do that, but like, I kind of want to watch it. We were talking the other day, do you remember we were talking about that guy who's doing that thing where he's, what was it, like 120 days to becoming a studla? And he's just every day is eating like 8,000 calories and he's just like drinking Coca-Cola every day. And I'm like, oh my God, when I started watching his videos, I was like, oh, this guy's going to kill himself. And then I just kept watching. And it was like, he obviously runs like a fitness business where he's a personal trainer and he wants to like show his clients that you can actually lose weight, you know, doing his program. So he's become super fat.
Gaining weight, yeah.
So that he can like show you how to do it. And I was like, oh my word, that's brilliant, bro. So if we had to...
He doesn't have to do it.
Exactly. If we had to
He doesn't
apply
have to
that...
do it. I mean, it's the same thing. Like a personal trainer can go to him and say, dude, this is stupid. Train hard and show off your muscles and people are going to... And that personal trainer wouldn't be lying. There's thousands, millions of trainers on the internet who show off their muscles and they get clients because they show off their muscles. So this guy genuinely could just show off his muscles and get clients. So it's like, the people who come to him with advice, like, bro, don't do what you're doing, it's dumb. They're not lying. It's a stunt. Like, it's not meant to be understood. It's not meant to make sense. Don't you get it? He's doing it because he can, you know, so, yeah.
So we've established we're doing a stunt. If I called you 10 years ago, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling you, and the person that's answering is 17-year-old Sishii. And I'm telling you that this is the stunt. It's a year that's going to change your life. And you've got 24 hours to prepare. The stunt starts the next day. And it's this stunt. How are you preparing? What are you doing? What's your plan of action?
Well, to release a song.
And
I still have to write and...
To create the framework and to create the platform to do the stunt. You've got 24 hours. And then the stunt starts.
As in the actual releasing of the song starts in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I've got the songs and...
You've got the songs, or maybe you've got one song, but you've got to just start. I'm saying to you, this is like a life-changing opportunity. This is all you have to do. How are you going to do it?
I'll just do it. Like, I just released the song. I just, like, if I knew that it could mean something in a year, if I just remained consistent. 10 years ago, I would have definitely done it. By just doing it also. Actually, I was green once upon a time. Sometimes I miss that. You know, when I wouldn't overthink and get anxious and, you know, feel like I am somebody people should be paying attention to, and why don't I have enough comments? And like, I would just jump in. So that's probably the word of advice I would give myself 10 years ago, is like, you're doing great, because you just jump into a whole lot of things without thinking too hard about them. So just keep doing that. Yeah. Would you, no, not advice, but like yourself 10 years ago?
To do this stunt 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd make it practical, bro. Like, I would make sure that I either had a phone that I could shoot content with, or I would get one, or find a friend who has one so that I could create enough content. That would be like the first thing. I would write as much as I possibly could in terms of creating ideas for skits, because I feel like comedy content really moves the numbers. People enjoy comedy content. I would obviously make sure I had the music. So if I had like one song, I would distribute that immediately and then get writing the next ones. I would probably write as simply as I possibly could. I'd probably write acoustic, like guitar vocals, piano vocals, really simple, really stripped down, like the most essential version of whatever my creative expression is. I would do that. If it was a stunt where I was maybe wanting to get into the world of visual art, I would look at like what the minimum viable product version, the most simple version of what I would love to do, what that is. Then I would do that. If it was being an author, maybe I'm just doing short stories or poems, you know? So I would try to pare it down all the way to the most basic thing, and I'll start there. And then as I go across the course of that year, I would then figure out what I was good at, what I could ask for help with from other people. And I would start to then increase the level of complexity for those other things as I went. So I would be quite strategic about it from that point of view. I'd first figure out what I need, and then I'd figure out how to do it. And then I would apply your energy and I would just do it. Then I wouldn't look at the social numbers. I wouldn't look at the engagement rates. The only reason I would look at them would be academic. I would only be looking at those points of data to determine how I can do what I'm doing better, how I can make improvements.
Dope, yeah. You sound like a really smart 17-year-old.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, I'm obviously answering the question like in a way that's like I'm applying what I know now to who I was then. Dude, at 17, bro.
I'm like at 17, bro. No way.
You applied the question so literally. What I meant was you take this experience you have now, you port it to 17-year-old Sishii. That's, you know.
Yeah, like if I were to teach someone how to do this.
Yes, that's a better
definitely.
frame.
But 17-year-old me, you'd never lost. Not look at the comments. Yeah, I would feel horrible. I think definitely like growing up has really helped not being too concerned with. I mean, I wouldn't even think of like all the answers. I think a lot of the things that you've asked today, I've answered by saying, like, I don't really care about the externals, you know? And I think that comes from the experience of doing this for some time now. But yeah, green me, I would perish at the hands of trolls on social media and people who just hateful, and there's a lot of those people. But yeah, I think that's a brilliant way to teach it to someone though. But I think we're going to learn a lot of things also as we keep going. So curious to hear how you answer that, in a year's time.
Me too. I feel like your answer will still be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, literally, bro.
All right, bro. This is us. I'll see you next week. And if you're watching, cool. I hope this was interesting for you. I hope there was something useful here for you. I hope you know what we're doing across the next 12 months. Is there anything you would want to add, Sishii?
Yeah, maybe just remind, I don't know if anyone would tune in late. I don't know if that's a possibility, but if anyone tuned in late, remind them what we're doing.
So if you tuned in late, I don't know how you would do that on a podcast, but if you tuned in late, we're releasing 52 songs, actually 53, across the next 53 weeks from the 29th of August 2025 to the 28th of August 2026. It's a stunt. It's a terrible business decision. It's unwise on so many levels, but it is a movement, so hop on.